Hey YouTube, it's Dr. Danielle. Today I'm going to be talking about what it took to downsize to a 21-foot travel trailer. And here she is. Her name is Sadie. And I attach her to an FJ Cruiser. And of course the FJ Cruiser's name is Fiona. And it is 21 foot, but it has a bedroom slide out. This is a relatively unique travel trailer, so that gives me an extra 4 to 5 feet. So this is my tiny kitchen, and no, I didn't try to make anything pretty or fancy. This is just how I live, so there are some dirty dishes in the sink. So I have a couch with a small dinette that has all of my work stuff at it. And then here's the bedroom slide out, and you step up into the bed. Riley! And there's a man in there somewhere. Here he comes. Hi, buddy. Oh, good boy. So here's Riley. He's been traveling with me. Before the RV, I lived in Florida in a 2,000 square foot house. But before that, I lived in a pole barn in a tree house in Michigan. And this little man has been through it all with me. Huh, buddy? Yeah. So I started living in an RV 1 year ago. I was graduating chiropractic college. It had always been a fantasy of mine to move to California, but I really had no idea where I wanted to settle down, and I wasn't quite sure if I wanted to settle down anywhere. I wanted to give myself some time and space to travel and wander and relax after having such an extensive education. So my friend Brandon lives in a 30-foot motorhome and invited me to come and stay with him to see if I liked it. And of course I did. I fell in love, and then I bought my own travel trailer. She is the pride and joy of my life. She's a 2008 Keystone Freedom Light. And she's kind of culty because she's only 21 foot long, so when I'm towing her, my short, stubby little car doesn't have any issues. I do have electronic brakes on both axles installed, and then I do have sway bars installed as well. So I barely feel it when I'm pulling her down the highway. But when I go to park, the bedroom does slide out, so it gives me that extra 4 to 5 feet of comfort zone. I had started getting rid of things 6 months in advance before my move. At that point, I had no idea that I was moving into a motorhome, but I was fully aware that I would be driving across the country from coast to coast, and I didn't want to bring that many items with me because that meant I had to buy a U-Haul or somehow transport them across the country. The downsizing process was very exhausting at the beginning because I had my things, and then also my ex-fiance had left so much of his stuff behind. So I was dealing with the emotional aspect of trying to get rid of his things as well as my own. I started by putting all of my big ticket items like my couch, my paddle boards, my canoe onto apps like OfferUp and Letgo, as well as Craigslist. And those were the items that I definitely wanted a certain monetary value for, so I'm glad that I put them up at that 6-month mark because it took me down to the few weeks before to find buyers for those big items. The biggest headache of things to get rid of were definitely my clothes because I had so many clothes. I had my summer clothes, I had my winter clothes from Michigan, and then I had all of my bikinis, and then I had my clinic clothes for chiropractic. So I started putting those into piles of what's easy to let go, what's not so easy to let go, and then things I definitely want to keep. And it's kind of ridiculous because I had owned some of these clothes for over 10 years and probably hadn't worn them in 10 plus years. And so I was dealing with the emotional aspect of letting go of something that I had held onto for so long. Even if I didn't use it, it was still hard to let go of because I had been moving this stuff from house to house, rental to rental for years. And so once a week, I would go back through those piles, the piles of I kind of want and then I definitely want to keep, and I would take more items from each of those piles and move it into the gotta let it go pile. And then I took those clothes and I brought them to resale shops like Plato's Closet and Buffalo Exchange so I could get some money to afford the gas and the U-Haul and whatnot to go across country. Next hardest thing to let go of for me were my books. So I consider books to be friends because I am a super nerd. I did sell some of my medical textbooks to some of the kids at school that could reuse them, but otherwise I just had to donate a lot of them. And then I had this whole garage full of tools. Like, who am I? I had all the things. I had a giant air compressor, tool chest, everything. So I had done some woodwork in Florida and then also worked with my dad doing millwork for 10 years before that. So I accumulated a lot of tools over the years. And I downsized it to my top 5. So it's my drill, my chop saw, my circular saw, my orbital sander, and my jigsaw. Other than that, I was able to put all of the other tools on OfferUp, Letgo, and Craigslist, and they all sold relatively quickly and gave me some good financial stability for the big move. And then I think the most ridiculous thing to go through was my kitchen stuff, because I counted, I think I had 22 blender bottles. Yeah, I go to the gym every day, but nobody on earth needs 22 blender bottles. It was like every time I went to Home Goods or Marshalls, and if I saw a blender bottle in another color that I didn't own, oh, I would buy it. So I am proud to say that I moved across the country with 3 blender bottles, and I am now the proud owner of just 1 blender bottle. And if it breaks, then I'll go and buy a new one. But until it breaks, I'm not buying another one. And that really taught me the value of quality over quantity. And so now the things that I do own are very nice, they're very aesthetic, you know, they fit my mood, and they're functional. Like, I only have 2 coffee mugs instead of 20, and I only have 2 plates instead of 15. Because my RV is so small, every time I use something, it has to go into the sink, I don't have a dishwasher, and I have to hand wash it. So that encourages me to do a good job doing my dishes and get things moving. It also taught me the value in objects. Before, it's like I was just accumulating all of this stuff because I thought it was cool or I might need it, but I would never use it. It's crazy how much stuff that I let go that had a monetary value to it and was either barely used or was still brand new. I'm very careful now what I let into my RV and what I let into my life. It has to have a purpose. It has to have a reason for existence. And it's amazing, even though I let go a lot of items that had a monetary value when I moved, it's amazing how little I've bought over the past year. My consumerism has plummeted. And I'm really proud of myself on this because I was raised with the mentality of accumulating a lot of things and not letting them go. If you asked me 10 years ago, would you be living in a travel trailer and would everything that you own fit into the travel trailer, I would laugh in your face. It just brings me to terms with how much my family members own, like my mom and my dad, and not to be morbid, but when you die, somebody else has to deal with all of your stuff. I never want to be that person. I never want to pass on and then somebody has the stress of trying to figure out what to do with all of my things. And I am going to be real, so I moved across the country with 8 tubs of things, and I still have a storage unit with some of those things. So I have a big heirloom family chest that I just literally could not get rid of. And then tubs of other things that every time I go to visit my storage unit, I am laughing at myself, like, why do you own this? It's taken this entire year to let some of it go, because still there's an emotional value to certain objects and there's an emotional value to letting things go. It can be very hard to let things go, and I think it is a practice. It's like a muscle, you have to build it up over time. But I feel like I'm finally comfortable and at the point in my life where I do spring cleaning once a week and I look at things in my RV once things start getting too cluttery and I'm like, what can I let go? What can I get rid of? And it feels so good. I'm just really proud of myself because I moved to California with the mentality that I wanted to have memories and experiences over material objects. I think I've done a really good job at that. I've experienced quite a bit over this past year. So instead of putting money into clothing or knickknacks or beauty products that I'm probably not going to use, I've put that money into travel expenses. I've had a really good time. I've seen a lot of cool places and I have grown so much from it. Another thing that helped me get to this weird plateau of I don't give a shit about material objects whatsoever was that I had gotten robbed last fall. So everything in my RV at that point I still had this strange, emotional connection to. And once again, it was quality over quantity, so some of these items cost a lot of money as well. So when I was robbed, I was really put face to face with the idea that my life is worth infinitely more than anything that I could ever own. I was just so crippled with the thankfulness that I wasn't home when it happened. There was no violence put against me. There was just objects that were taken from my life. And those are entirely replaceable. There were just objects taken from me. My memories weren't robbed. My body wasn't harmed. I'm still whole, mind, body, and soul. that was another big stepping point for me, because now in retrospect, when I think about all the things that were taken from me, I have come to terms with it and I do not miss them one single bit. It has honestly made me even better at letting certain things go that don't belong in my life. There were quite a few things that my ex-fiance had bought for me that were stolen, and it just reminded me what a neuro-emotional value I still held onto those items. So every time I would look at those things, I would think of him. And every time I would think of him, I would have these subconscious, fear-based, anxiety-based emotions. It was just really rewarding to realize after the robbery, and it wasn't until after these objects have just been completely removed from my life, how much they were affecting me on a day-to-day basis. So I do in an odd way feel cleansed and peaceful and happy because of what happened to me, which is an odd outlook, I think, but I like it. Okay guys, thanks for listening to my rant. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, message me or email me. I hope you guys like me enough to subscribe to my channel and give this a thumbs up. I'm gonna go for now, but stay tuned for more videos and I will see you guys soon.